Welcome. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining again for another virtual user group session. Our ACT webinar today is on ACT opportunities. I'm happy to see the turnout that everybody showed up today, and I'd like to get started. So to talk about ACT opportunities, in the previous sessions we went over contacts and groups and the calendar. Opportunities are here in the left sidebar, and tragically, it's kind of something that many ACT users go a long time without ever exploring. Many ACT users are kind of self-taught, or they just never bother to check out the opportunities or get to dive in there because they have a small learning curve to them. But once you use them, they are a very powerful learning tool, or a very powerful sales tool. I'm using the ACT demo database this morning as always, and as I open up the opportunities, there are none in here yet. So we're going to go ahead and set this up and create some new ones. So an ACT opportunity is essentially a quote or a sales opportunity. I kind of hate to use the word to define itself, but let's say that somebody asks you for a quote or pricing, or there could be a potential to develop a contact into a larger order. You can use opportunities for that. And I generally say that as soon as a customer asks you for a quote about something, that's a good trigger for when an opportunity should be created. You don't need to create an opportunity for every single potential lead or potential business card that you receive and think that it needs to be made into an opportunity then. It may be still too early, but that's certainly up to your own business type and how your own sales process works. Let's start by creating a new opportunity. So if I look at my contacts here, and I'll go to my list view, and these are some sample contacts that come with the database. Let's pick somebody out here. How about Randy Scott from Independent Labs? Let's choose Randy Scott and say that he asked us for a quote for some ACT licenses. That will be my example today. From Randy Scott's record, there's a few ways I can make a new opportunity. I can go here to this Opportunities tab, and then right here, the New Opportunity button. And then also, there is a view up here where you can move back into your opportunities window. From the left sidebar, you can make the opportunity window from down here and create a new opportunity from this screen as well. But similar to creating a new contact or a new activity on your calendar, I had mentioned that I prefer to create activities directly from the contacts record because it will automatically associate them by default without you having to choose them out of the drop-down list. I also prefer to make opportunities directly from a contact record because it will associate the contact with the opportunity right off the bat. So if I go to Randy Scott's record and say new opportunity here, ACT moves me to the opportunities section, brings me into the detail view, creates a new opportunity, and it already has Randy Scott associated in here with the contact record. So this is the default view for an opportunity layout. And as with everything in ACT, it can always be highly customized. I'm certain that your sales process, you probably want to know all sorts of other specific fields up here. You can link them back to the contact record. You can add custom fields, just like you can on the contact card. You can write custom fields, drop downs, multiple choice select boxes, so that you can classify and categorize your opportunities as needed. But we'll go through the default settings first. So every opportunity has a name. By default, it says new opportunity. This is an internal name that will not be displayed to the end user at all. Oh, and by the way, where I'm going with this is you can write quotes out of ACT as well. Many people don't realize that ACT can be a quoting tool, and sometimes that opens up their eyes because you ask people how they're currently sending quotes, and many businesses that I deal with usually say some type of mixture of an Excel sheet or everybody just kind of does their own thing. The good ones have their own dedicated, standardized quoting software. But if you don't, ACT is a really great tool for doing so. But the opportunity name is internal, and that's not going to appear on the quote. That will instead appear in your list view, and whenever you're browsing or looking at all of your opportunities in general, you'll see the opportunity names there. I usually advise that you either use the name of the company, the contact's company that you're going to be sending this opportunity to, or it could be an internal part number based on the product or a piece of equipment that's being sold, or it could just be something, a quick note that would let you know at a glance what this one was if you were to pick it out of a list. So I can call this one If the contact here, Randy Scott, is from Independent Labs, I'll call this one Independent Labs Act v19 upgrade. And then I save up. For those of you that have been in here, you'll know that I always use this floppy disk icon to save changes very frequently whenever I create new opportunities and contacts. Act does have an auto save in here. It will save for you as you move through. Nonetheless, I have a habit of saving changes as I go. So then we've filled out the opportunity name, but some other fields on here are a little different than your standard field types. For example, there's a total value here. These fields are grayed out because they are read-only. And see, I can't actually edit these. If I try to, change this value or type something in here, it's locked. The reason, and we'll come back to this in one moment, is that the total values field is controlled by the products and services tab down here. And we will return right back to that. An opportunity has dates associated with it. Act automatically put in today's date for the date that this opportunity was opened on or created. That's the opportunity create date. It also put in today as the estimated close date. The estimated close date is just a general ballpark of when you think this sale will close. It's a good idea to try to assign one every time somebody from your sales team creates a new opportunity. They should be putting in an estimated close date. Even if it doesn't have to be perfectly accurate, but if you think that based on your conversations with Randy Scott that he will maybe buy at the end of this month or maybe in another 3 weeks, then go ahead and ballpark a date on your calendar for when you think that is. The reason is that if you try to think forward to a time in the future when maybe you have dozens and dozens or hundreds of opportunities going on in your database that are open at any given time, possibly across many salespeople on your team, having all of these estimated close dates forecasted out into the future allows you to lays the groundwork for some powerful reports down the road. You can kind of get yourself some forecasted reports of what will my August look like. How about September and October, based on the opportunities estimated close dates that are assigned to those months. The actual close date is something that we will fill out later. It will be automatically filled in for us by the next step here, which is the opportunity status. The opportunity status is a field that's mandatory on the opportunity view. An opportunity can have 4 statuses by default. There's open, and then at the end of the path, it will either be closed won or closed lost, depending on if you won or lost the sale. And then there's also an inactive status, which could be, I guess, if they're not ready to buy right now, or you want to put an opportunity on hold almost indefinitely. Inactive is kind of a questionable one in my opinion. Some people use it very often. I am kind of the mindset that an opportunity is either open indefinitely, or it will be closed, or it will just be deleted entirely if it's something that's really not meant to be there. But there's also inactive. When we get there, when Randy eventually says, yes, this opportunity, I've accepted your quote, I've given you payment, the opportunity was fulfilled, we will be changing this status to closed won, and automatically the actual close date will fill in for us on whatever date we fill in. So you don't usually have to worry about filling this actual close date in. And then finally, we have process and stage. And so the process, your Act database can have multiple sales processes. Most cases, commonly I see every company just generally has one. A sales process then has multiple stages within it. Process is the parent in the relationship, and then stage is the child in terms of the hierarchy. So the Act sales cycle, this is a predefined default process that comes with the database. Within the Act sales cycle, there's multiple steps. They have things like initial communication, needs assessment, presentation, negotiation, commitment to buy, and sales fulfillment. Kind of your steps, and you need to think about your own business and your own sales process. How does a opportunity normally go from start to finish? What are the steps involved? And I strongly advise that you have fewer steps, because the way opportunities is intended to work is that your sales team or yourself will go through and regularly update the stage that this opportunity is in. So perhaps you're in initial communication with Randy right now, but once I send him this quote, perhaps I could have a quote sent stage, and maybe if he accepts it, they could be quote accepted. But if you start really fine-tuning things so that every interaction or every step of the way has its own stage, that can sometimes lead to a bigger headache than it could be worth if you have to be updating every stage 1,000 times along the way. But we'll come back to these processes and stages after we address the products and services, because they tie in with this probability as well. I did skip over this intentionally. We will come right back to that. I would advise, though, that you start thinking about editing the list values here for your process and stage so that you can customize these values yourself. Under products and services, this is where we build the total value of the opportunity and what Randy Scott may be interested in. To add in something new, we press the Add button, the big plus sign, right here under the Products and Services tab, and the Add Edit Product panel appears. So here in this list, there is a drop-down that shows all of the products in the database. There are currently none. There's a few things now that you can do with this that's really interesting. You can start, for one, if you just have a one-off product that you want to type in here. I can type in ACT licenses. In fact, I'll be a bit more specific. I'll say ACT Premium V19 upgrade, because that's what this opportunity is for. I can give it an item number, an internal part number if that's relevant to you. You don't have to have an item number, but I can say, you know, ACT Premium V19, quantity 1, the cost on an upgrade license. So I think off the top of my head is $249 now. Oh, I'm sorry. The cost is your internal cost. The price is the price to the end user. So you don't have to fill in your internal costs for this part, but again, it will pave the framework for you having nice reports further down the road if you do fill this in, because then you can even look at the aggregate sum of all of your open opportunities. You'd be able to calculate margins, not just gross sales values of all those opportunities, but also margins on each one if you do fill in these costs in there. But in this case, we'll just say 200 there for a cost, and you can also tie in a discount. I know it's a lot. Some people are thinking right now, well, my business doesn't necessarily sell widgets in this kind of framework. If you do sell widgets, then it's absolutely great. You can actually edit your products list and import your entire product catalog in here. Using the import function, you can have all of your product names, your item numbers, their costs, and prices already added to this list to make it very easy for your sales team to just open up this drop-down menu and select an item out of the list. I'm just looking through the attendees list here. There's a few people in here I know that might benefit from that. My friend Ernie is in the chat. He sells some easy reach wrappers, and you could add into your product list all of your different product lines that you sell with each cost and price in there to make it really easy for you to select them out. For those of you that don't sell widgets, maybe you sell something that's more broad. Maybe you sell consulting services or general labor or a construction project. Some of you sell large capital projects that really don't have a line item by line item breakdown. If that's the case, I'll show you what I would do. First, I'm going to say OK and save up this ACT license and add it to the quote. If you have something that's more broad, there is certainly nothing wrong with just saying general construction. For example, I know a construction company is one of my customers, and this is how they use their opportunities, because they could be building a project that could be, you know, $2.5 million. So they will just fill that in and call it general construction. They don't bother with the costs or the quantities or the item numbers. They just want to use that so that they can affect the total opportunity value that's going on here. So we do have to kind of think of products and services for how you will change that to your needs. But now that I've added this ACT V19 quote on here, now the total value of my opportunity has changed for me. Again, this field is still grayed out, but we have the total value is $249 as well as a weighted value. It will return back to this weighted value as well. That's tied in with the stage. One more line item I'll just add. I'll say ACT installation services. I won't bother with an item number. I'll just say that $150 install fee and add that to my quote so that we have 2 line items here. So the total value of this opportunity is $399. I can save this up. An opportunity also has its own notes where you can add notes to the opportunity, much the same as a contact record does. Those get attached underneath the opportunity. There's history of an opportunity that shows as fields were changed and new opportunities were created, and people can add history involving emails and documents that were sent. There is a documents tab associated with it, with an opportunity. Many of these things are very much the same as the contact records. You can attach a file under the documents tab for an opportunity if there's a relevant quote or a piece of literature that you wanted to have affixed under there. Perhaps a purchase agreement or a signed contract. There's also an opportunity info tab. They have some extra fields in here, competitor referred by reason. And of course, you can add in your own fields. Opportunity access, if perhaps you wanted to make this public or private or limited to only certain people. It's your sales team internally being able to view this, and other user-defined fields. But we'll talk about this weighted values and probabilities. So, we have a question in the chat. Do the opportunity notes roll up to the contact and company? That's a good question. They don't by default. You can make them roll up to the contact and company. It would be nice if they did automatically. If I make a new note here, then it shows me that there's no contact associated with it. I can insert a new note and just call this Randy Scott from Independent Labs is a ACT user upgrading from v16. And if I add this as a new note, then here it is as a note on my opportunity. But if I return back to Randy Scott's record, it's not here on his record. Under his opportunities tab, by the way, though, we do see the opportunity listed here, though. If you want the notes to roll back, then when we created this note, rather than just jumping right down into the details and filling it in, up here under the contact, where you can relate this note back to a contact, there is a drop down where you can pick the contact name out of here. Or similarly, if you want to pick one or multiple contacts, you can use this contact button to the right and find them out of your list in this method. And if I do associate the contact back in there, now it will roll up to the contact record. So it still appears on the opportunity record all the same, but here under Randy's notes, there's the same note rolled up as well. I know it would be nice if it automatically did that by default. The reason that it sometimes can't always do that is because you can have many contacts associated with an opportunity. For example, if I go under add or remove contacts, I can have many people from different companies involved. Perhaps if this was a capital construction project, there could be a lot of different contacts related to this between subcontractors and other people purchasing agreements and whatnot. Here under the groups and companies, you can actually assign an opportunity to a company instead. The better way to do it is through contacts. And because Randy Scott is already associated with a company called Independent Labs, the company fills in for you as well. But you can add and remove companies in here directly. If you wanted to avoid contacts, many businesses don't ever really deal with a contact-centric or a contact-focused kind of a view. If you are somebody that relies mostly on companies as how you do everything, stick around because we have an ACT user group on companies coming up soon as well. And you can associate the company directly with the opportunity. The weighted value, well, I want to come back to that right after the quote. At this point, we've given our opportunity a name, a total value, got an estimated close date, it's got our products and services added, we've got Randy and Independent Labs in there. ACT does have a built-in quoting tool with this little icon right here. I know it probably looks small to you. It's a piece of paper with quotation marks on it and a plus symbol. And it says create quote right up here in the toolbar. I believe It's right up here under the opportunities drop down as well. There is a create quote menu here. If I click on the quote option, ACT will open Microsoft Word for me. It creates a mail merge with all of the contact info. And here we are. So this quoting template is completely customizable. This is the default one that appears out of the box from ACT. You can certainly replace your own logo, your own letterhead, and reorganize this in any manner that you choose. And you can also edit and modify this in any way after the quote has been created. If I wanted to manually move anything around here, I could certainly change that or alter the fields that appear on here. But it's pretty nice what it did for me here is that it filled in Randy Scott's information. It pulled it right off of his ACT record onto the header of this quote, put in the date, put in my ACT username, and then it's got the line items on here and built in a quote right there for him, including a tax rate you can specify and more. From here, you can go ahead and save the quote, send it off, attach it under the Documents tab. You can even tell ACT to record history. Here under the ACT, in Microsoft Word, if you are working with an ACT mail merge letter in Microsoft Word or with an ACT quote, the Add-ins tab has a Send Email where I can automatically send this quote over to Microsoft Outlook and attach it into ACT history. There's a Direct attached to ACT, or I can record history with this ACT drop down in the Add-ins tab. And I can put the quote number right in there under the regarding and attach the document itself. It's pretty cool. A lot of people like that quoting tool. So coming back into ACT, if my opportunities view, just like in the contacts, I can switch between the list view and the detail view. And the list view will show me all of the opportunities available. We have a new question here. If you are coding QuickBooks, can you import directly into ACT to the specific contact? QuickBooks allows me to turn the quote into purchase order, et cetera, and then ultimately manage AR, accounts receivable. Yeah, what I would tell you there, Ernie, is that you should get the QuickBooks integration for ACT. There is an ACT add-on. Get sidetracked a little bit, but I recommend this add-on highly, called Q Sales Data. And this is the QuickBooks integration for ACT. And please get in touch with me if you're interested in it. It will actually add it will completely integrate with your QuickBooks database. You can create new invoices and new jobs right from ACT with a click of a button, pull in the contact information. You can keep your contact list in QuickBooks and ACT synchronized so that you don't have to do double data entry. And you can even see a customer's past purchasing data right within ACT and view their QuickBooks purchases and invoices right within ACT. If you're using QuickBooks largely already, I highly recommend this QuickBooks add-on for everybody. The price is $149, or $159 per license. You need a license for each workstation this will be installed on. Really only the person at your company that's using QuickBooks the most, or the people that are in QuickBooks the most, are the only ones that need the license. Everyone else can benefit from some of the features, but it is $159 per license. Highly recommended add-on by me. But back in the opportunities here, using these different drop-downs, we can sort by opportunities that are open for certain dates or future. This is based on their estimated close date. There's the status here. If you want to see, just show me the open ones or the closed ones, or show me the opportunities that were closed and lost. You can filter by selected users so that you can see opportunities from certain people in the database if you want to see just yours or a certain group of people. And the last thing available in here, as is the theme in many other screens in ACT, the columns that we see going across the top here can always be customized. So there is the options under options and customized columns up here in the top right. This customized columns window will show you all of the opportunity fields that are available, including things like number of days it's been open, estimated close date might be something that you want added on there. Reason, record creator, referred by. These are different values that you can add in. A weighted total, for example, is one that you can add in as well to change up your columns a little bit further. So I want to talk about that weighted total now. The weighted total is nothing more than a simple arithmetic of the total value of the opportunity multiplied by the probability out of 100. So 10% in this case gives me my weighted total. And some people might wonder, well, what's the point in doing that? Each of these probabilities, while you can manually set it at any stage in the game, can be associated with a stage over in the process and stage area. So if I were to move this along, maybe we are in the negotiation stage of this opportunity. When I update the stage to negotiation, the probability jumped up to 65. Again, these were arbitrarily assigned default values, and you can modify these. But as we move further down the pipeline, closer to commitment to buy and then sales fulfillment, this probability will creep ever upwards. The value in doing that is that when you're looking at your list view in aggregate across dozens and dozens of opportunities and many salespeople, you know that not every single one of those would close. If you have several opportunities in there that could potentially be for $500,000, but you know full well that you might not have a 100% close rate on that. I mentioned that you can do sales forecasting and forward-thinking projections based on what you could be closing, and you don't want to assume that the total value of every opportunity is going to be what it actually is. And that's where the weighted total comes in. It's not meant to be precision science. It's really just so that if I wanted to say, show me the weighted total of everything going into August, then I'm looking at all of my opportunities, but accounting for their likelihood of being closed based on the stage that they are in the game. If I wanted to edit the probabilities associated with these, I can go to Edit List Values under this dropdown, under Stage. This is where you can specify the different stages that are within your sales process, and you can associate a probability with each one that you can assign. And they could be different for your business. Maybe you know historically on your years of experience that by the time that someone has asked you for a quote and says, I want pricing on this, that they are already 85% ready to buy at that point. Or maybe it's much less than that and people are asking for quotes all the time and never follow through. You can certainly add your own stage and probability based on your needs, or maybe just based on the salesperson's own feelings. They say, okay, I know that negotiation normally is a 65% probability, but I know Randy Scott very well. We've worked together many times. This is already going to be a 99. And I can type that in there on my own as well. So that's the beauty of the weighted probabilities, because if I want to look at my list view and I want to sort based on all of my opportunities in the database, maybe I want to sort these columns, and it's not a good example because I only have one in here. But if I wanted to sort all of my open opportunities as a business manager or owner and say, what's the biggest opportunity going on right now? You could do it by total value, but it might be better for you to go by weighted total so that it's paying a higher priority to the ones that are further down the pipeline and more likely to close. If the salespeople are filling in the weighted probability, which they certainly don't have to, it can be a valuable tool in that way. I think, well, it's about 2 minutes left here. I think that would wrap us up for today. I know it was a lot to take in. I hope I didn't lose too many people along the way, and I may be doing the follow-up series on opportunities as well. I hope it was enough to get your gears turning a bit so you can think of some further questions or send me an email in regards to how you think that you could use this in your business. I know that I'm sure that you have some specific questions to how you use ACT and how your sales process works, and I'd be glad to help consult you through that in terms of making this tool work for you. I'll keep the line open for any questions for the moment. I'll take everybody off of mute if you'd like to speak. Okay, Well, if that's all, thank you everybody for your time today. I really appreciate you coming out. Please join us again next week. I don't have my schedule of topics ahead in front of me right now, but every Tuesday morning at 9:30, for those of you joining us live on YouTube, please see the link below in the description to sign up yourself and be invited to the next session to talk live. Thank you very much and have a great day. Goodbye.